The thing that stands out for me is my enduring relationship with our client Toyota, and they were the person who wrote out the first cheque to me, and so for that reason it's been a very loyal, long-term relationship.
I loved working on the Carnival Cruise media for Mills. That was very exciting, a new experience for myself, and just seeing the excitement of people going on board and the whole industry and that side of things.
I'll always remember getting my first front page story. It was for a pro bono client who was an artist with numerous disabilities, and I managed to get on the front page of the Manukau Courier.
I really enjoy the opportunities and the support that PRINZ provides, especially to its student and younger members.
Probably my proudest moment was working in local government in my home of North Shore City.
When I was at Coca-Cola, there was a lot of debate around the packaging accord about how to get the recyclables out of the mainstream waste. And we had talked to the councils about putting in a trial of public place bins, and most councils were really anti it because they'd tried it in the 70s, 80s, and they'd got really strange items in the bins, like pieces of shark and nappies. So the Botany Town Centre allowed us to do a 10-week trial. The results of that we were able to take to the Ministry of Environment and convince at that time Marion Hobbs to run other trials. And subsequently a brand was developed called Love New Zealand, which Coke was able to gift back to New Zealand. And we see it everywhere now. And so I have a real sense of accomplishment knowing that public place recycling is partly due to the work that I did.
I think whenever I get a piece of media in any form, whether it's a front page of a community newspaper or something in the New Zealand Herald, I'm always super proud of that.
The piece of PR work I'm most proud of was for the Airline Pilots Association, and it resulted in a public education campaign to highlight the dangers of handheld lasers, and it's resulted in a private members bill going before Select Committee in Parliament.
I worked for the fertiliser industry body called Fert Research, and to a lot of people that sounded quite boring, but what they didn't know was the client really listened to our council, trusted us, invested really well in comms, and so as a result we did some really cool work.
The bits of work that I'm most proud of are the bits of work where I've worked really closely with other people, and they've had my confidence and vice versa.
When Team New Zealand won the Louis Vuitton Cup, and they didn't have quite enough money to go into the the next race, the America's Cup race, and so we had to raise $500,000. I was at TVNZ at the time, and with the whole TVNZ behind me and with a team, of course, Saatchi and Saatchi, we actually promoted Wear Your Red Socks. And that caught fire, and of course we managed to raise $500,000 in a few days. It wasn't without its challenges, I must say, but for that I did win a PRINZ award, and I won another international award, the IABC, so it was very good. I went around the world talking about it for quite a few years actually, for various conferences.
I can remember a media training session when the person that we were interviewing stood up, tore off the microphone and said, "No one's going to ask me that," and stormed out. We had a couple of anxious moments there, thought I'd lost the client, but eventually they came back in and said, "Now why did you ask me that?" The result of that was that a decision, a very important government decision, was actually overturned, and to me that really sums up, I got a lot of satisfaction out of that, but also sums up what PR can do and how far you can actually reach.
We've recently, for Kentucky Holidays, taken Jamie McDowell to Costa Rica to promote our latest conservation project with the Sea Turtle Conservancy up in Costa Rica. So that's something that I'm proud of, that's a great fit for the brand, and that we're hoping to work further with her on.
Sharing knowledge with other practitioners through the professional development both here and elsewhere in the world.
The piece of work that I really loved working on was the work between Telstra Saturn and Clear Communications. It was multi-layered, it was internal and external, there were a lot of challenges, people involved, it was really great.
Some years ago we were involved with some scientists who were researching new cultivars of flowers, and it was something that was struggling getting funding for, and so I worked with the colleague, and together we came up with some really good work that raised the profile about why floriculture was really good for New Zealand's economy.
The work that Convergence did after the Canterbury earthquakes with the Student Volunteer Army, it was really important work, and it was something that we're still very proud of.
That'll be my first project. We were able to generate enough support to raise $10,000 for the Wellington Children's Hospital.
A few years ago I was quite heavily involved in the Canterbury Water Management Strategy, and that's been quite a defining piece of work in Canterbury in terms of managing the water resource. It was really significant in terms of the range of stakeholders that were involved in the process and the level of community engagement, and I suspect there hasn't been another piece of work in New Zealand where there's been such a broad engagement with such a wide range of stakeholders, and I think that the outcome was extremely positive.
The work that I probably most enjoyed was I was lucky enough to be media manager for the Black Caps for about 4 years. So while the job was great and you always got a different challenge every day, the benefits of 2.5 months in the West Indies and 2.5 months touring England when you're a cricket nuffy certainly has definitely been a highlight.
Being head of communications at the University of Canterbury on February 22nd, that had the challenges for us all here in Christchurch professionally and personally, but having to get on with the job and not necessarily know how things were at home was a big challenge. And I think the work over the next 6 to 8 weeks that followed, very proud of that and very proud of the people I worked with.
Some of the work post-earthquake is really the work I'm most proud of. So I was with an agency after the earthquake with Carter Price Rennie, and we were sent in to help both Waimakariri and Selwyn with their comms at a time when, for instance, Rory Christie was out of the country from Waimakariri, and Selwyn needed a lot of extra support just to get the messages out to people.
I'm really proud of the fact that I managed to get through the civil defence operation here in Christchurch just after the September earthquake, as well as the February 22nd, 2011 earthquake. That was an incredibly challenging time for me, both personally and professionally, and I'm really proud of the fact that I got through that time.
Very early on in public relations, I was lucky to work on a campaign to have seatbelts made compulsory in New Zealand, and we succeeded in that. And you feel good about that, because this is a good thing that you've done for the country as well as for your client.
Creation of the welfare to wellbeing brand concept in the 1990s with social welfare. It was with Dame Margaret Baisley, and it was really evoking the hand up rather than the hand out concept.
I think one of the pieces of work that I was most satisfied with, shall we say, was when we made the competition rather jealous with our comms activities. We'd put together a programme of work that the Director of Communications of the opposition felt they needed to come out and review. So it was quite satisfying to know that that was the reaction that we'd got from our opposition.
Probably the thing I'm most proud about was our What's My Duty application, not just because we got a highly commended from the PRINZ awards, but because it's actually used.
Road safety campaign, and that involved the whole gambit of communications activities from getting stakeholders engaged in turning up to events, TVC launches, and even a few publicity stunts, including getting the Prime Minister to turn up at a checkpoint and check drivers to make sure that they were wearing safety belts and things like that. So there's some really fun activities that I've been involved in.
It was setting up a thing called the Lend a Hand Foundation on the West Coast. So there's 3 regions, Westland, Grey District and Buller District. We work with 3 Rotary clubs who'd previously never worked together on anything. We've got a whole lot of local businesses involved in it. It's all about giving a hand up to people in need in the community, and it's been going for 4 years now, raging success. There's a whole lot more businesses joined up just the last couple of days when I was down there, and it's just fantastic.
My almost 20 years with PRINZ, I mean, for lots of reasons. I love being a member of PRINZ, and I think that I've actually been able to contribute to the development of our profession.
Yeah, one day I was walking down Lambton Quay and minding my own business, and around the corner, Stuart Dawson's corner, came a demonstration. There was old ladies in woolly pulley jumpers, babies in prams, punks with Rottweilers. Another demonstration, I thought, and then I realised they were demonstrating against me, or more precisely, a campaign I developed based on a 24-page booklet debunking the claims of this particular activist group and actively working to get their propaganda out of schools. They became so obsessed and angry with what I'd done, the booklet became their total focus for the next 2 or 3 years. They even published a 300-page rebuttal. It was wonderful. They totally lost their plot, their focus of what they were trying to achieve, and my clients were given hugely valuable breathing space. It was great.
It was when I was at university during the 2011 earthquakes that hit down in Christchurch. I went in to dig out silt with the Student Volunteer Army, and I knew the founder, Sam Johnson, really well. And he sort of knew about my marketing and event management experience, and he had different media groups on the phone trying to get in contact with him. We were liaising with people from all over New Zealand and internationally, trying to obviously arrange relief efforts in the Christchurch aftermath. So essentially I just went in and got thrown in the deep end, and that's kind of how I came to be in PR now.
I don't have any single piece of work that stands out in my career. I mean, there are lots of them, but I think what I'd say I'm most proud of is working for 28 years pretty much in the profession. And I started in journalism, and I've been part of and led numerous teams and brought people into PR, helped them grow, helped myself grow, get qualified in PR and in general management. And it's seeing the profession grow as well, and being part of that that's been really exciting. And I think that's the one thing I am most proud of. Getting qualified, getting almost to the top of the profession, and being here now, it's brilliant.
I think last year's reopening of the Heritage Christchurch was incredibly important to us as a company and for the community of Christchurch. It's the only heritage building that is still working, and so it was a very emotional event reopening that, and the PR just travelled all over the world. It was a wonderful experience being involved with that.
Yes, the work I'm most proud of is probably in the last 10 years working for iwi commercial organisations such as Tainui Group Holdings. And there's 2 reasons for that. One, my kids are of Maori descent, so for me it's a real personal thing about their futures. And secondly, these iwi-owned companies are going to be a huge part of New Zealand's future, so it's really, I guess, satisfying to know that you're contributing to the wider good of New Zealand in the long run.